Sing along with me, blue jean bird of the financial district, eyelid torn to cheekbone by smeared mascara. The sweat sloshing in your high heels will dry if you stand still. The Geary and Stockton flower man may have 40 different breeds of roses, but San Francisco's Indian summer gives no lightning. On graying porches, Nebraska sits on rust-pocked rocking chairs, bush from a can, and front row seats to firefly dusk. Tony Lama, the only high heel for miles. All right, this next one is called Toasting the Trickster to 35 Years, and this is kind of about the Western woman, if you will, being left alone. She'd found him in the driveway, gravel and ants embedded in his cheek as she rolled him supine. He'd slipped out on her, no word, or no last kiss or word, no days hinged to his deathbed, no locking eyes in the last labored breaths. The doctor said stroke, maybe a flash of Catholic light, but no pain. Then the cavalcade of casseroles came, long before he was buried and even before the blood was let from his body. In the kitchen, the pans have cooled and cheese curdled. He'd have stored and eaten the dozen or so dishes had it been her. But after 35 years of washing clothes by hand, cooking lavish meals from meager scratch, and keeping her face smooth of wrinkles with olive oil, she has hours and hours baking used to fill that she fears soap operas and casserole will now swallow. After she takes strong pools and pink dawn from his after-dinner bottle, toasting to tricking her into belief the retired years would bring leisure together if they worked hard now. When mystery novels held her hands and freshly laundered down fails to spoon her restless body, she takes trips. Cheese and noodles, pork and potatoes to the yard's edge. If coyotes come in daylight, sick or desperate or brought by the smell, she'll be at the window to watch. "8 seconds and he took the buckle. She liked his smell, muscle, dust and steel. He rode on the back of her motorcycle home. First he sounded like a preacher, then a caged beast, whiskey and shattered glass. He bundled into her bones and kisses fell quick as guitar licks. He had her believing angels watched from somewhere close but not quite heaven. Now her pulse beats in time to his spur chimes receding. Tonight's bronc leaves him grounded, and he slides past. She revs her engine. He's convinced her 2 bodies plus 2 racing hearts equals red lights dropping to green. Her tires ripple smoke, redefine speed, and just before the crash, she leans over to turn the music up. J.V. Brummels, on page 110 of Rattle's Western issue. J.V. Brummels was a neighbor to us when we lived in Nebraska, and he had a small ranch, and my father would assist in bucking hay and branding cattle and such. I actually assisted once rounding cattle a horseback from one field to another. On a 2-year-old Appaloosa that Jim had, and he warned me he's going to be a little raw, and that horse wanted to run, and I let it. So this is called "Over the Hill Where Rock and Roll Dies" by J.V. Brummels. So again, the strawberry roan broke in 2 and scattered halves, and cowboy to the wind, that breath which, like the colt, blows baby sweet one day and harsh as bitter age the next. Midnight at last weekend's party, a drunk Floridan rode him out of the corral and among cars and music and lights. Other drunks loud talk, down the road without a blink of the colt's eye, or a sidestep, or a startle, or the turn of a red hair. But pushing cattle this morning, 2 miles or more from home, he'd already something saddled to our backs. Not once, but twice, he sent poor Johnny, good a cowboy as I know, high into a windmilling sky until gravity pulled him back to earth face first. Now cattle on fresh grass, the rest of the crew back at the corrals. I'm crawling this old Chevy across a grazed down pasture. In the rear view, Johnny on the tailgate leading the colt, stirrup leathers of the empty saddle hanging, a mournful procession, walking a ghost of hope for a good horse home. Only later we find the rawhide Bossel to blame, the hole it rubbed in the colt's jaw that set him off. Nothing mean about him, but the hurt that made him so. I suppose we're all more or less sweet in our natures, but terrors in our pain and fear. The sun just down, I drive the Chevy on fumes the few miles to town to fill the tank. And with the thought of a beer or two from the understanding bartender on a night when the heat won't drop off. I pass on a radio recap of war news, favor rock and roll from the speaker until I cross over the ridge north of town where solid earth blocks a clear signal. I drop down towards main and neutral, gravity pulling me to the pumps where I swipe a card and code a computer. From where I stand beneath the bugs and fluorescent lights, I can see all the way down this short street, past my NASCAR-loving neighbors' big rigs to the western sky of colors they can't name. The Chevy's tank is huge. The pump pumps and pumps gas as if on dry sand. For them, it's been a weekend of tractor pulls. If modern pickups weren't fuel injected, and if I could find a rock in this dusty country, I'd smash every Republican carburetor on Main, march into the bar and tell them all to get a horse. But the party's near enough its end, at that place where drunks get dangerous, at this point when people die. Hell, let's burn it all, before we wake to a guaranteed headache, to roll the long way home the best we can, next foot dragging ahead of the last, dust devils laughing at our backs. All right, I'm going to read one of my fathers, the one that is on page 130. I'd rather worm dogs for a living, she said, drunk as 10 Saturday night cowgirls, but she clobbered into his pickup truck outside my knot, said, okay, give me shelter. That night was cold as half-frozen milk. An hour later, she told the rancher, I'm so bored I could piss on your car seat. Then fell into the amusements of dream sleep. And he steered onto the backlands dirt road, reckoned she was likely not the dimpled bride at the end of the rainbow. She woke at dawn on a mouse-gnawed couch under a green counterpane. Outside, the howling wind came from the northwest, and a cow was on the front porch, trying to look inside through the plastic sheeting, snow drifting all around. The unopened mail said the man could buy gunk for foot bacteria, renew rodeo and cattlemen's magazines, and get his hearing tested for free. The spring prairie was enormous, seemed to sing, warning, red roses. The rancher had nothing to offer but a dusty sky, a new summer, a pair of dozen-year-old cow horses, basic satellite TV, and white-faced cattle. Thank you.